hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip
Bars is back.
hip hop,
Santa
hip
Ant.
hop.
Oh God.
And bong, because everybody's trying to find me. You know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Everything's turned off. I'm doing really good. I'm happy to be here. Happy to see you guys. I love your background.
Thank you.
That mural is dope.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was done by a real talented artist, actually a tattoo artist in our area in Violent, New Jersey. Angel, he owns Namaste Collective out in Violent. He did the whole thing. If we had a 360 view, you'd be able to see the whole studio, but did a phenomenal job.
Beautiful. All I got is my chocolate Santa over my shoulder, but you know.
It's all right. So how are you feeling with everything going on? We usually start off by asking our guests how they feeling. 2020 is concluding. It's a lot that's happened this year, a lot that we've had to digest. So overall, with the year concluding, how are you feeling with everything?
I mean, overall, I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling like there's some things to be really grateful for. I feel like, we had a positive election. I feel like we had a positive, we have some. I was watching a news conference today of a new, COVID team that actually talks to us. And, I feel good about the trajectory of where we're going. Personally, I'm really down right now because I lost a very good friend yesterday. And I just, when you lose somebody that is around your age, one of your contemporaries that has children your age, it hits you differently. And so I'm a little sad about that today.
Yeah, condolences to your friend, Miss Natalie Desselle Reid, who passed away, shockingly to a lot of her fans yesterday due to colon cancer. You actually broke the news to a lot of people, broke the news to me when you dropped your tweet, and it made me learn something new because I didn't know your mother was a manager, and I didn't know that she managed Miss Reid. If you don't mind, can you share some of your experiences with Miss Reid?
Yeah, so Natalie Desselle Reid is just, she was a wonderful person. I mean, everybody loved her smile. She was just vibrant. She was just a ray of sunshine. My mother managed her for some time during her career. My mom was a pretty prolific 90s manager. I'm always on her to write a book because she managed everyone from Michael Clark Duncan to Wesley Snipes to Rosie Perez, Pierce Brosnan. Like, she was bad. And I'm like, Mom, you need to sing your praises. So I'm working on her to tell her story. But Natalie and her had a great relationship, but they had some ups and downs. And as recently as 3 or 4 weeks ago, Natalie reached out to her and they squashed everything and talked about life and had this beautiful, uplifting closure conversation. And they laughed. And then maybe it was 3 weeks later when my mom found out that she was really ill and was close to the end. And Natalie never mentioned that. So I just think she wanted to, have this conversation. It meant a lot to her. So yesterday when she passed, her husband, who was, as you can imagine, overcome with all the things you have to do in that moment, reached out to my mom and asked her if she would help get the word out in a dignified way. Because you know how the media can be sometimes, and they start saying things are not right, and her legacy and her life was too important. So Lenny, her husband, asked my mom if she could help with the social media. Well, my mom's 84. So she needed a little, she's pretty good with social media, but she needed a little help. So I stepped in to help her. And Natalie was someone that I loved, and her legacy will live on. She's Black royalty, right? She's for the culture. She's like, those of us who did movies and TV shows in the 90s feel a certain way about, our relationship with our fans. And I know Natalie was somebody that we all loved, and I'm super sad about her passing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Condolences. Could you talk a little bit about your foundation for our audience, if you may?
Yes, thank you for asking. So Holly Rod Foundation, like many other nonprofits, are kind of suffering right now because we usually have these big old, galas where we raise all this money to support our programs. But we started Holly Rod, my husband, Rodney Peete, and I started because we were supporting families impacted by Parkinson's. And some of you all, people who are listening, certainly not you two because you're too young, but you might remember my dad was on Sesame Street. He was the original Gordon on Sesame Street back in the 60s, from the late 60s to the early 70s. So he really started that iconic show, and I'm super proud of his legacy. But when he was just in his 40s, he got Parkinson's. And this was in the 80s, right? So there was we didn't have Muhammad Ali or Michael J. Fox to sort of shine the way. We didn't really know what Parkinson's was. We just knew it was neurological and incurable. So fast forward many years, when I married Rodney, he said, we're so blessed to have resources to take care of your dad. What about families that don't? And that's where Holly Rod came. And then some years later, we had a set of twins. One of them was diagnosed with autism, and we knew we wanted to expand our mission to help those families too. So that's what we do. And currently we support our young people with autism to get jobs, job training. And they can sometimes not only be a great asset to your company, but sometimes like the best employee. And RJ was fortunate to get a job with the World Series Championship, Los Angeles. Let me get it right. And it changed his world. It changed his trajectory. He has confidence and he can self-advocate. So we want that for a lot of people. So that's what Holly Rod does. We support compassionate care for families impacted by autism and Parkinson's.
That's awesome. And where's that? What do you practice out of? Where's your foundation out of?
We're in Los Angeles, but we grant a lot of other programs around the country with RJ's Place grants. So that means we support their efforts to help families impacted by autism, and especially to get jobs and get job training. We connect with other organizations, and we also connect with other corporations like Microsoft, like Cigna, like Walgreens. These organizations are hiring these young people, and then we help train them and get them jobs and meaningful employment.
That's very commendable and respectable. Definitely appreciate that. Take us back, Miss Robinson, because the first time I saw you was in the late 80s. I was born in 83, so I'm about 5, 6 years old. And I see a beautiful woman from 21 Jump Street. I didn't know about a woman at the time, but I know the woman I was watching was pretty. And I was watching her on television. We talk about how you got into acting, because obviously your mother had a long history in managing. Now you're telling us your father was one of the original Sesame Street cast members in the 60s. Hollywood around you and royalty around you already. So how did you get into acting?
So when I was about 5 or 6, the age you were when you first saw me, I was, it was the most amazing thing, because my dad had this like the best job any 5 or 6 year old dad could have, being on the dopest show for a 5-year-old to watch, which was Sesame Street. Yeah. Well, I wanted to be on this show, right? Naturally, like anybody else that was 5, but my dad was a different kind of guy. Like he didn't want me. He knew that if I went up there, we were living in Philly. If I went up to New York and was on Sesame Street, that I would see those lights and decide I wanted to be in show business. And he didn't want that for me. So he didn't want me to be a child actor. And so he was right. When I finally begged and pleaded and got up there, I did. I got there and there was Oscar and Big Bird in them. And I was like, oh yeah, and the lights and stuff. I said, okay, this is what I want to do. But I had one line and I blew my one line. I was supposed to say, hi, Gordon. And I kept saying, hi, Daddy. And then, so yeah, that happened. And then my feelings were really hurt because I got my line taken away from me. And, but yeah, he was right. I got there and I was like, ooh, I want to do this. I want to be on TV. And it wasn't until later till I saw people like Diane Carroll and wanted to be on TV, like to know that it was actually possible for me. And then later on, when we moved out to California, my mom became this manager. She used to take me along to the Good Times tapings. And I mean, the Jeffersons tapings. My dad was, sorry, my eyelash is flying up, guys. This is what happens when you get on these Zoom calls. I'm gonna just keep it real. Eyelash, hold on, wait. It's flying up. It's flying up. Okay. So anyway, so my dad, after Sesame Street, went on to do some writing and producing for different other iconic shows. My mom was managing. They were divorced at the time, but I got a chance to really see the business as a young girl. So when I would go to them Good Times tapings, they were like, it was like going to church, because the audience talked back to the actors on stage. And that was what I wanted to do. I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I ended up going to college anyway to fulfill my dad's dream, because he just wanted me to go to college. And once I graduated, it was a very short time before I got 21 Jump Street. And that was a great show because it was very diverse as far as the as far as the actor, as far as the diversity of the cast, we had somebody from all walks of nationalities and races, and that was really awesome.
Right.
Great.